All right, welcome. And so our first question is, could you please introduce yourself and explain why you are a candidate for the Oakland School Board?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you all very much for providing this space for me to participate, as well as providing this opportunity for the public to hear from all candidates in different districts and also in my district. So my name is Valarie Bachelor. I'm a Latinx Education Union organizer and a D6 resident. I'm running because I'm really a proud product of public education from elementary school through college. And I think that all students really deserve a high quality education. That's one of the pinnacles of our democracy. And I want to make sure that that is happening not only here in Oakland, but elsewhere as well. Part of the reason I'm also running is because I've been involved in the labor movement for over 15 years. And I thoroughly believe the importance of collective action and empowering workers, whether those workers are education workers, classified staff, or the workers' parents, who are the ones that have to kind of, get their kids to school and get them back. So I really want to make sure that I'm empowering everyone in our community, that we're listening to folks in our community, and we're deeply respecting the wisdom within our own community so that we can push back against, privatization and a lot of the different challenges that we're facing here in Oakland. Again, this campaign is not about me. It's about the people here in Oakland. It's about the residents of D6 and the respect that we deserve in the high quality education that our students deserve and demand. Thank you.
Okay, next question is, what current programs or proposals do you feel are successful? What would you keep and build on? What would you cut?
Thank you for that question, because that is really a challenge. We are in a really challenging moment when it comes to the budget. So as a progressive, I really believe that we need to be good stewards of taxpayer money. And that really starts with sound, ethical, fiscal management, which is not something that our board and or our district has been known for in the past. So my top priority, or really our collective top priority, needs to be our students and the recruitment and retention of high quality educators and classified staff. And that means we need to evaluate every single program with that lens. So we need to ask ourselves questions: how is this serving the needs of our students? How does X program support what's going on directly in the classroom? Who are the folks that are going to need to be involved in this program? And how can we tap into the resources of our community, the creativity, the wisdom, the knowledge, the skills, the talent within our own community before we go and talk to consultants or get outsiders to help us with the things that we need to be doing in our own classrooms? So again, if we have that lens in mind, we can look at and see what cuts need to happen so that they're as far away from the classroom as possible. And again, really engaging all stakeholders. And when I say all stakeholders, I don't just mean, folks on the board, members of a community, but I also mean our labor partners, our students, our families. I really believe in engaging our community organizations and nonprofits in this work, because they are the ones that are also doing some of this work. So why not engage them and have those deep conversations and use some of that community schools funding to support getting them into these programs? But again, I don't want to just say wholeheartedly, these programs are great, these aren't. We need to evaluate every single program to figure out how it's supporting the classroom. And if it's not, we need to have a deep conversation as to why that program exists and why it's being funded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will you commit to rejecting donations and support from privatization-linked organizations such as Go Public Schools and the California Charter School Association?
Yes, because I'm a union organizer, especially in the public sector, I've really seen the damage that private interests can cause when they encroach upon our public spaces and encroach upon our public resources. So I really do see, that charters and the charter school industry is that private sector, source that's trying to get more funding within our school district. And I believe that charters have a place but it is not as big of a place as we've given them here in Oakland. So we really need to make sure we're holding our charters accountable. And part of that means that my campaign will not be taking any contributions from privatization groups and or charter supported organizations and individuals.
Thank you. Next question. What is the role of the school board? What is the role of an individual school board director? What should the relationship be between the board and the superintendent?
Thank you for that question, because I think that there's been a lot of confusion, at least from what I've seen. So the role primarily of the school board is to create a budget that has the priorities of the entire community here in Oakland in mind. And that is also, and the secondary role, right, is to pass policies that support public education and our public education system. And lastly, it's really to hold the superintendent accountable to that budget and those policies. If elected to the school board, my role would be to work with like-minded school board members to pass a budget that supports the classroom. And part of that is really seeing the full implementation of resolutions such as the Reparations for Black Students and Educators resolution that was passed in 2021. And part of that work is also really to hold the superintendent accountable. And not only the superintendent, but our top administrative staff accountable to the budget as well as those policies. I'm also, part of the role of a board member is also to visit the schools that are in the district. And I plan to do that on a regular basis and have conversations with site reps, teachers and educators, administrative staff and students. And I really want to make sure that I'm regularly engaging the community that I serve. So D6 would have regular meetings in which I have conversations with all stakeholders. And lastly, but not least, I really want to engage our students. We have some amazing students. And I think that really deep engagement with those folks, they will have the civil understanding and the support they need to be able to be the democratic leaders that we want to see in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next question is, do you commit to voting against any school closures? And other than school closures, what are 3 specific ways you can respond to possible funding shortfalls in the budget?
Again, thank you for this question. And yes, I commit to halting all school closures until the reparations task force and the superintendent conduct, an equity impact analysis as required really by the reparations resolution to determine really the impact of school closures that are proposed on Black students and families. I was really heartbroken when I heard the news about Parker because that, is a community school of mine. And my partner and I are, hopefully going to be parents soon in this district or someday actually. And that was going to be one of our neighborhood schools. And the fact that, it could be completely gone by the time that we are able to have our children enroll in OUSD is deeply saddening to me. But again, this is larger than just me. This is larger than just the community here. This is something that we've been doing, school closures. We've been doing this for a long time now, and we are ripping our own community apart. We are allowing gentrification to take over by having an unstable school district that allows folks to leave and say, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not working here. I'm not gonna live here if my students aren't able to really be able to have a full education here. So I wanna stop that cycle right now. I wanna make sure that we can serve the students that we have now, that we can serve the future students that we will get once we increase enrollment. And I have plans to do so, but we need the support of a majority on the school board. And that's really, really important. And I will work to get that majority on the school board so that we can have other options outside of school closures.
Thank you. What do you see as the effects of charter schools on OUSD students? And what do you believe should be the relationship between OUSD and the charter sector?
Thank you for that question. So just like any other institutions, we need to look at charters, individual impact on students, as well as the collective impact that they have. So on an individual basis, it may be true that some charters are quality learning spaces for some of our students, and that's great information to know. But at the same time, on a collective basis, the money that they draw out of the district negatively impacts every single student, family member, and an educator and classified professional here in Oakland. And that is something we need to take a real hard look at. So I think part of the role of OUSD and the school board is to hold charters accountable, that we hold the charters that we currently have accountable, and then freeze any new or expansion of any charters in our district. Because again, we have the largest percentage of charters according to our district size and our student size. And we need to make sure that we're holding those charters accountable that we currently have and freezing any more expansion or any new charters until we can really figure out how to serve our students in the public education system.
Thank you. Our next question. Could you describe some examples and sources of environmental racism in your district and say how they've affected OUSD students, parents, and educators? What commitments can you make toward combating the disproportionate impacts of pollutant exposure on OUSD students, parents, and educators?
So one of the largest contributors of bad air quality and pollution in my district, as well as the entirety really of Oakland, is 880, right? It runs through my district, it runs through many other districts, and it's disproportionately impacting communities of color that live in the flats. So one way to combat these effects while students are in our schools and while educators are teaching and providing services is to install permanent air filter systems within every school site for every single classroom that we have. That right now is a hodgepodge of different types of systems that folks have, and some people have them and some people don't. And that is unjust, in my opinion. We need to have every single classroom be capable of air filtration systems for not only the air pollution, but also for the year-round fire season that we're facing now. I'm also eager to do some more outreach to gauge what other environmental factors are impacting my district outside of air pollution, because I don't believe that I know everything. I feel like there is wisdom in this community, and I want to tap into that wisdom. I want to tap into that knowledge and really make sure that I am the best steward of that information, so that I can then take it to the board and make decisions that impact not only my district, but other districts. So that's why I'm also looking to work with other like-minded school board members to have real conversations about what's impacting their district that also may be impacting my district, and how can we work together to make sure that we have a collective voice on the board so that these issues are not only talked about, but they're dealt with, right? I cannot stand that McClymonds still has lead in the water, right? I can't stand that their soil is still has toxic levels of different chemicals in it, right? That isn't in my district, but that deeply impacts me as an individual. And I know that deeply impacts the entire community. So I want to work across the board to make that happen.
Thank you. How would you partner with the Oakland community? So for example, students, families, educators, classified staff, unions, community organizations, etc., around issues facing our schools, in particular when making controversial or difficult decisions?
Yeah, thanks again for this question too. So first and foremost, I just want to say that I have a deep, deep, deep love, respect, and admiration for the Oakland community. That is mainly why I moved here 9 years ago, and to really be a part of this amazing community here. There's deep wisdom here, there's deep creativity, and there's an amazing sense of real community here. But the way in which the board has treated our community members is absolutely disrespectful. So by shutting down public comments, ignoring our student directors, and disrespecting our labor partners, we have made a toxic environment here in our district that I want to, again, stop that cycle and really start working with those community partners. So again, I will work to support school site councils in recruiting, empowering, and mobilizing parents at the site and district level. I will work with organizations, student organizations like All City Council, to demand the county fulfill its promise on QQ and allow students to register and actually vote on school board members. And I also want to work with them to look into board policy that would allow student directors to have an active vote in the school board, so that they can really feel like they're a part of the process and not just get shut down every time. And again, I would really, I'm excited to work with our labor partners to ensure that they get the respect that they deserve at all levels of the district, whether it's on an individual basis with folks getting their credentials taken care of, or whether it's on a district-wide basis of honoring collective bargaining agreements and memorandums of understanding. I'm also very excited to work with community organizations and nonprofits to fulfill our community schools models so that we can really engage and we can support parents and really engage them in the learning process for their students. And we can really, again, support the entire community by having these community organizations and nonprofits in our schools.
Thank you. And our final question is, would you like to add any closing remarks?
I would just like to, again, thank you all for providing this space, not only for me as a candidate to get the word out, but also all of the other amazing and talented candidates that are in the field. I also want to thank teachers and classified professionals for the amazing work that you all do every single day to support, empower, and love on our students. And again, I just want to thank like the community members. Like this is going to take a collective effort. It is not, this candidacy, my candidacy is not about me. It's not about one particular school or one particular issue. It's really about us as a community, right? Are we going to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars, or are we going to continue the cycle that we've had and close our schools, open charters, close our schools and open charters, right? Again, I think that part of why I got into this work and part of why I love what I do is I fundamentally believe in public education. I fundamentally believe in labor rights and union rights. I fundamentally believe that every child should have everything that they need in order to be successful. I don't think that we're living up to those values and honoring our community in that way. And that's why I'm running, because I want to make sure that we honor our community, that we support our community, and that we tap into the talent and wisdom that we have here. Because again, a consultant cannot solve our problems. And we need to stop funding consultants to try to solve our issues or problems and really tap into the resources that we have here in our district in this beautiful city of Oakland. Thank you so much.